It's still kind of cool out. I hope you on the screen are comfortable. Oh,
Something happened.
I
Get back, Chris.
Uh-oh, what did I do? Okay.
You created another challenge for yourself today.
I pushed a button. It's always my worst fear.
It's just the Zoom
Here
screen.
you are.
Okay, we're.
You're better.
Who's here, Chris? We need to know.
Did I do it again?
Uh-oh. Lost you again. Technical difficulty
Funny. Or not funny, depending on.
with the host.
That's.
And there you are. I see you. And there you are. I'll spotlight you. And we're good to go.
Okay,
Will you
It's-
just read out who's here?
or I'll just.
Tell us.
Force of habit is the little button came up in a place where I usually push it that just says it's okay that it's recording, but I didn't, it's habit formations. I didn't read that it said leave meeting. And then not only did I do it once, but I did it twice. So there's been a request to know who's here, and you probably can't
We
see.
can't. Would you read the names?
Okay, I can read the names.
Tell us who's here.
Wayne and Christy and Ellen and Deborah and Morgan and the Sangha camera and Erica and Elaine and Romaine and Diane and
here's
Susan and Linda and Subhana and Christine and Sally and Marianne and Nancy and
What's her name?
Kristen.
Kristen is back and Marilyn and Debbie and Gretchen and Buddha and Tara and Maitreya and Chris. And those are just the ones that we know. That was a good start.
Good. Thank you.
And don't push buttons that say leave meeting unless you want to leave. Pay attention to what you're pushing. A couple of reminders. Practice period begins October 11th. We have the Shuso in waiting, sitting in this very room. So please sign up. Otherwise, she'll be sitting here all by herself, and that would be really not nice. That's not going to happen. No. So please make every effort to sign up for the practice period and find some way that it works for you. It's not. Don't make it something that is extra. Make it something that is supportive and enriching. And this is our last week of working with the Bodhisattva archetypes. Starting next week, we'll have about a month of Sangha members, both on screen and here, local, giving either their way-seeking mind talk. You've been asked, so if this doesn't, you'd know if it was going to be you. We're not going to pull anything on you. Either their way-seeking mind talks, or we're trying something new called Engaged Bodhisattva Practice talks about practicing in the world. What's your practice look like? How does it support you? So I'm looking forward to that. So on Tuesday, we were talking about Tara and the 21 manifestations of Tara and her powers. She has lots of different powers. She can do all kinds of things, which of course is a little, the Tibetan practice is a little more shamanistic with its Bon tradition behind it. Zen doesn't talk a whole lot about powers. And then I remembered, well, not only that, we were talking about her powers, and then the earthquake power happened while we were in the room, and we've been talking about Tara's power to stomp on the earth, and so who knows? But anyway, we're all fine. And but then I remembered a beautiful lecture that I have repeatedly gone back to by Taigen, who's been our guide with the Bodhisattva archetypes, about self-power and other power, and I wanted to bring that forward. I know that I probably have more that I want to say than I'll have time to say today, but we'll just do our best. I'm going to talk about self-power and other power, and then we're going to talk about Maitreya, who I brought my friend Maitreya. This particular Maitreya, which we'll put up later and people here in the room can look at. When I came to San Francisco Zen Center, I came from Ohio with Mo Farrell, who sews robes, and with Susie Clymer. We all worked in a natural foods restaurant in Ohio, and we all ended up here together. We kind of followed each other. And Susie died a good number of years ago, cancer, has a wonderful daughter. But when she died, this Maitreya was on the Buddhist calendar, the month that she died. And it doesn't have a date here, but it was a long time ago. But this Maitreya has hung in the kitchen, my kitchen, ever since. So this is my homage to Susie Clymer, to practice, to they were the bodhisattvas that I came to Zen Center with, Mo and Susie, and we're all still practicing. Susie, she's here, and Mo practices in North Carolina with Pat Phelan. What a mystery it all is. So back to self-power and other power. My self-power somehow got me to San Francisco Zen Center in 1976, but it so clearly, if I look at it, is how in the world did you get here? I mean, here in a human body, much less to practice, much less to this Sangha. So there's in Japanese 2 different words, jiriki and tariki. Jiriki is self-power, one's own strength. The ability to achieve liberation or enlightenment through your own efforts. Clearly takes some effort. It took some effort to show up here this morning. And tariki means other power or outside help. Dogen, and I'm going to be quoting Dogen now, and with the help of Taigen's scholarship, he's an impeccable Dogen scholar. Dogen talks about Zazen as other power. Now clearly it's you who get yourself to the cushion. But then what happens? So he says and reminds us that Dogen encourages us to apply ourselves to Zazen and to actively apply to inquire into the teachings and to cultivate meditative awareness and questioning. It's like this is an active practice. It takes effort. But Dogen is not advocating self-power practice in which practitioners can accomplish great realization through your own efforts. I'm sorry. Did you get it? And it does take great effort. I mean, if you sit a sesshin, you just know sometimes. But then you also know what it feels like to be picked up and carried by something bigger than yourself. Dogen's meditation teaching assumes the practitioner's devoted acceptance of and support from other sources, and the importance of sincere devotional gratitude to these benefactors. I love this. Does this make you happy? This sort of thing is why, in the end, I love this practice so much, because it's us and it's all of us. And there's something that happens that's bigger than the sum of the parts, and it's mystery, and you're more and more open to it, and then there's just gratitude. Because you couldn't ask somebody to be Shuso and think she's going to show up and know how to be Shuso. She's completely relying on the tradition, on all of us, on the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, everything. So Dogen's external support derives from 3 main sources. This is Dogen. This is Taigen again, his deep understanding of Dogen. 1, the lineage of historical Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So we don't chant the lineage here of the ancestors, which was traditionally masculine, all men. Now there's a woman ancestor, but it's implied. Well, we have a Buddha on the altar, for goodness sakes. We started with Shakyamuni Buddha when we studied these bodhisattva archetypes. We rely on this Buddha sitting down underneath the Bodhi tree. being passed to us. And the Buddhas across time and space, that across time and space there have been Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who have understood suffering and made the vow to wake up in the center of it. And they're all sitting here with us as we sit with them. The second is, so it's the lineage. Actually, I kind of mixed that up a little. It's a specific lineage with particular people in it. The second is the cosmic Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Is there are Buddhas before Buddhas? And the Bodhisattvas that we've been studying are cosmic Bodhisattvas. It's like, where's Samantabhadra? There wasn't an historical Samantabhadra. Samantabhadra is an archetype or an energy, just as Avalokiteshvara and Tara. And the third, and as Taigen says, probably most importantly, the phenomenal world of the environment that's informed by and breathed in and out of existence by Buddha Dharma. So I'm going to go back to each of these a little bit. So Zazen is not a meditative skill or a technique to achieve results, some exalted meditative state. It's a ritual expression and celebration of awakening that's already present. And Dogen talks about it as practice realization. So the beautiful thing that practice is the effect of realization. The more that you wake up, the more you want to practice, because you realize it's an expression of your heart and an expression of the truth of the interconnection of everything. It's not the cause of it, although there is some back and forth. So Zazen really is, in its essence, a faith expression of the beneficial gift of grace from the Buddhas and ancestors. Did you really, did you know? I mean, to let in. It's a faith expression of the beneficial gift of grace from the Buddhas and ancestors. That's what we're doing here. Like, thank you. The lineage of ancestral teachers, going back to Shakyamuni Buddha. There's a fascicle, Dogen, Only a Buddha Together with a Buddha. It's a beautiful fascicle. Maybe we'll study it sometime. That it depends on interaction, that Buddha Dharma cannot be known as a person. Buddha Dharma cannot be known by a person. You can't know the Buddha Dharma as a limited, self-powered person. It happens in interaction with all the other Buddhas that are waking up to be Buddhas and the help of all the Buddhas across time and space. Dogen says in this fascicle, what you think one way or another is not a help for realization. If realization came forth by the power of your prior thoughts, it would not be trustworthy. Realization does not depend on thoughts, but comes forth far beyond them. Realization is helped only by the power of realization itself. It's what Dogen says is drop body and mind, or let go. The ancient Buddhas across time and space are who catches us. Someone said when we were studying Tara and we did a visualization that it felt like sitting in the lap of Tara. I often feel when I'm sitting Zazen that I'm sitting in the lap of Buddha. I can feel a physical, energetic body that's holding me beyond me, and it's manifesting itself through this me. So Zazen is simply a ritual of devotion and gratitude for practice and an offering to the Buddhas and ancestors. That's what we do when we do a dedication of merit. We're passing this along to everybody, saying it was always yours, and here, we just kind of stirred a little of it up and we just blow a little your way. Second, Dogen speaks of relying on cosmic Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for assistance and totally entrusting them. He says, just set aside your body and mind, forget about them, and throw them into the house of Buddha, and then everything is done by Buddha. Make prostrations to Shakyamuni Buddha. Take refuge in Maitreya. Whoa, I guess we're on the right track. Take refuge in Maitreya, capable of saving the world from its sufferings, and in the wondrous wisdom of power of Avalokiteshvara. Dogen especially liked Avalokiteshvara. I call on you. And Taigen reminds us that one of the traditional Mahayana expressions of taking refuge in the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas is taking vows and taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And in fact, we talked about this in the precepts class on Tuesday, as Dogen's health was failing, he recited the 3 refuges by walking around the room. And I remember reading that he touched each, there were 3 pillars, and he said, I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Dharma, I take refuge in Sangha. And then he sat down and he died in Zazen. But it was by taking refuge in other power, something bigger than himself. And the third other power is the world itself. Kind of like when we were doing Earth Dharma a few months ago. It's what we were touching on. A Buddha field providing nourishment for practitioners in a mutual interconnected relationship. A dynamic living force supporting awakening and the teaching potential of the grasses and the trees. That each event and each moment is the product of the interdependent co-arising of all things. Earth, grasses, trees, fences, and walls, tiles and pebbles, all things in the Dharma realm in 10 directions carry out Buddha's work. We are not doing it for those dumb, inanimate things out there. They are helping us and we are helping them, and it's so far beyond anything we could even begin to imagine. And then everything, this is Dogen, in the entire Dharma world becomes Buddha Mudra, and all space in the universe completely becomes enlightened. So we are literally sitting with and for all beings. So Taigen, and I alluded to this on Tuesday, his feeling is, and it makes me very happy when I read this years and years ago because it completely aligns with my own energetic and intuitive sense, is that as Westerners, we really focus on self-power. That maybe that's the limitation of the mindfulness movement, and the psychologist. It's wonderful that psychology has been brought into Buddhism, but if we leave out that it's interconnected and that we're in a mutual dance with everything, we are missing the potency and the power and the beauty of this tradition. He also says consumeristic conditioning has also led practitioners to seek to acquire dramatic meditative experiences as products. You probably have seen that you can now become a teacher in about 2 years if you spend a fair amount of money. And I hope that helps a whole lot of people. But I love that we just come and we sit and we bow and we offer with gratitude to all beings. And the sunlight's coming in the door and there's no place to get to, and our hearts just open and soften, and more we see that each thing and each person is Buddha. And it's already here. And that's what we're waking up to. Okay, so Maitreya. This is going to close us out, which is wonderful because Maitreya is the future bodhisattva of loving kindness. This is the world that we are all, through self and other powered practice, bringing into existence. Let me read you what Taigen has to say. Shakyamuni Buddha predicted that his disciple Maitreya would become the next incarnated Buddha in the distant future. Awaiting his destiny as the future Buddha, the Bodhisattva Maitreya now sits nearby in Tushita heaven. I want to say something about Tushita heaven, but I'll finish this first. Tushita heaven is one of the blissful meditation domains in our own realm of desire. And Maitreya is there contemplating how to save all suffering beings. Maitreya Bodhisattva may appear in our world incarnated as a Bodhisattva, and is also sometimes depicted as the future Maitreya Buddha, who awakens our hope for the future and our responsibility to the generations to follow. Maitreya's call concerning the future has rich implications for the present. Maitreya Buddha is one of the most ancient. Among the earliest Buddhist images, Maitreya was already popular by the 2nd century CE. Maitreya has been around for a long time. And I'll just add this in here. Remember the huge statues in Afghanistan that were destroyed in 2007? Those were Maitreya. Isn't that tragic and interesting? So they were along the trade route, the Silk Road trade route. What a beautiful thing to put along a route of commerce. It's Maitreya, Buddha of loving kindness, to show that each new country and each country would and could become a Buddha field. I love your sad eyes, Sally. So, Maitreya, whose name means loving one, had a caring and generous character, or has. The metta, loving kindness, after which Maitreya is named, is a traditional Buddhist mindfulness practice in which the practitioner emanates good wishes and loving thoughts towards particular beings. We know the practice, and we do the metta sutta. Although the eventual aim of such practice is to mentally bestow blessings on all beings, beginners are advised to start with family and other intimates, we know this, for whom loving kindness are already present. And to start with yourself, keep coming back. Sometimes in our culture, even says, begin with a beloved pet. It's like start someplace where the love and the kindness is already there, and then we'll extend it out. Gradually, these thoughts can then be extended to unknown beings, and finally, perhaps even towards one's supposed enemies. Such generous, loving wishes, generally more directed and focused than such generous, loving wishes that are generally more directed and focused than Avalokiteshvara's immediate responsive compassion, and less deliberate than Samantabhadra's intentional beneficial efforts in the air, in the world, are central to the Maitreya archetype. Okay, so I want to just say a minute something about Tushita heaven, because as a Zen practitioner, I had never heard of Tushita heaven. A lot of the, maybe you have, but Bruce and I did a Buddhist pilgrimage a decade or so ago, and we went to Bodh Gaya. We were really lucky to go to Bodh Gaya, and there are practitioners from all over the world. Talk about a Buddha field, and there's all different traditions and colors and faces and robes, and I had never seen pink robes. Korean nuns, some of them wear pink robes. And we happened to be there for the celebration of, must have been Buddha going to Tushita heaven? Anyway, it was some kind of, we were celebrating Tushita heaven. And all of a sudden, it seemed like it was almost all women doing this. There had been candles placed around the huge compound in Bodh Gaya. It's a very big compound, and on all the walls and in the Buddha's laps. And all of these monks and nuns, but mostly nuns, were lighting candles just at dusk. And so the whole temple began to light up and blaze with light. And she was a Korean nun, or I assume she was, because she was in pink. And she came to me, and it still makes me kind of cry. She handed me some matches and invited me to join them and to light the candles. And she looked at me and she said in the most gentle voice, "Isn't it beautiful, sister?" And then we just silently went on together with everyone, lighting up this whole world, because Tushita Heaven and what Maitreya is doing is bringing Tushita Heaven and lighting it up here, so that this world can be a pure land and we can finally bring kindness to this world and to each other. So there are 3 major strands for Maitreya. So maybe first of all, how about, I'm going to put it on the screen, Gretchen, and you guys, you can come look at Maitreya later. This is just, they're beautiful. The depictions of Maitreya that I know are very simple. Gretchen's going to do a screen share.
Has done.
I don't see it.
You don't see
Do
it?
they have? Do you guys have a screen share?
Darn. To the meeting.
It's okay.
We'll get there, we'll get there.
Maitreya, well, I'll just keep talking.
I see what happened here.
Maitreya isn't
There we go.
there we go. Maitreya isn't an elaborate, Maitreya seems a little more ordinary and close to the ground to me. Here's a description from the calendar that I've kept on the back of this. Maitreya, the future Buddha who, according to the Avatamsaka Sutra, will integrate the individual, universal, and spiritual facets of existence into wholesome union, so that all beings will live in and enjoy perfect harmony. In the time of Maitreya, no rigid concepts of substance will limit experience. There will be no more fixations, and form and emptiness will coexist in continuous flow, cooperating and complementing each other. Doesn't that sound like a beautiful place to live and to work to bring into manifestation? So it says in this scroll, Maitreya is sitting in a playful Laita posture of golden complexion, peaceful and resplendent. The top knot is the main thing. It shows is a sign of Maitreya being a Buddha, a future Buddha. Because if you look at this Buddha has a top knot too, but Maitreya is just their hair. And he also holds a twig of the Nagasekara tree. Just simple and at ease. So 3 major strands for Maitreya is 1, looking into the future. Maitreya looks into the future and recognizes the unfulfilled potential of our time and envisions a better one. So Maitreya is helping us to do that. It's helping us to envision a better future. Maitreya is here saying, come on guys, you can do this. 2nd, Maitreya encourages us to study the self, to study consciousness, to try to undo the workings of our minds so that we can be of help to other beings instead of tied up and entangled in our confused delusions. Delusions happen, but Maitreya says, come on guys, wake up, wake up, wake up with and for all beings. And the 3rd quality of Maitreya is expresses loving kindness by going out into the world and is intentional and directive versus responsive. Maitreya really wants this to happen and does it with loving kindness. simply wishes happiness to all beings, extending sweetness, loving thoughts to all, and gives whatever they can. So here's Lou Welsh poem about Maitreya. Why don't you can take that down, Gretchen. At last, in America, Maitreya, the coming Buddha, will be our leader, and at last will not be powerful and will not be alone. Take it as simple prophecy. Look into the cleared eyes of so many thousands young and think, maybe that one? That one? That one? Look out. The secret is looking out. And never forget there are phony ones and lost ones and foolish ones. Know this. Maitreya walks our streets right now. Each one is one, and there are many of them. Look out for him, for her, for them, for these will break America as Christ cracked Rome, and just tonight another one got born.
Hmm.
Nice, huh? Erica's applauding. I applaud too. Yes. Okay. So we need as much help as we can possibly get. So here's how about if we just